the Blackhawks, I think, have a lot of guys that could be personalities. Like Nazar, obviously, bro. I think Lev Shunov as well. And I even just look at like Spencer
Frondell.
Knight. Like he just seems like so beyond his years, and same with Alex Vlasic. But yeah, Anton Frondell seems like he has a personality too, and that seems like a good way to transition into the third overall pick. Is yeah, I didn't get Misa, but we're still pretty fucking happy that we got Anton Frondell at third overall. I mean, I would have been like, to me it was Frondell or Martone, and if you get Michael Misa, like you throw out all the plans. That didn't happen. We got Anton Frondell, and but you've been leading the charge for that, so I want you to I'll give you the floor here to talk about him.
Anton Frondell, no matter what, was what I said the moment the Hawks got the number 3 pick. And I mean, I think the film speaks for itself. This guy was almost point a game in Hockey Allsvenskan. Started the year injured, people forget. So he had a slow start to the year, missed camp and all that stuff. Finished the end of the year on a blazing streak. Yeah, he didn't have the best under 18 game, but at the end of the day, I'd prefer a stronger performance against grown ass men in a men's league. Yeah, it's not the SHL, but he had a higher point per game than
Men's
David
league.
Pastrnak coming out that year. This is a guy who
Who's
can play
that
center.
bum?
Yeah, who's that guy? Who's that fraud? But can play center or wing. I think he's going to be a winger on this team. It's just the way the centers stack up. But in my opinion, guy's going to be a demon on the power play. He's just got such great spatial awareness, the ability to create space. He can get that shot off from basically anywhere, whether he's going to play net front or on the right circle for you. That shot is going to be lethal enough to get 30 goals a season at his prime. I'm so confident in that. And I think it unlocks Bedard's shot too, because you're not just going to have one elite shot on the power play anymore.
Yeah, you
There's
gotta
going to be
respect both
diversity.
shots that either of them can shoot. Yeah.
And Nazar's got a heck of a one-timer too. We saw that this year. And he's got a pretty good wrister too on top of that. And you're going to have options on this power play. Like, I just think when this team is at its best, you're going to have Bedard, Nazar, Frondell, Lardis, Rinzel. If everything works out the way your plan envisions, you got Nazar on the bumper, Frondell on the net front, Bedard and Lardis fucking winging the circles, just elite wrist shots all over the place, and then Rinzel's going to dish out every puck, and Bedard's going to dish out every puck. He just complements his team so well with his strengths, his physical maturity. I mean, he's 6'1", 205, something like that already.
Yeah, I think he's gonna put on even like more. Like I think he's gonna play closer to 220. He might grow to like 6'2". Like he could be a big guy, like Taves.
100%. And I think his two-way game is more underrated than people give him credit for. It's going to be a position where you're going to have a lot of luxury of what you want to do with him. Because, like we talked about earlier, Nazar had great chemistry with Bedard when it was those two and Bertuzzi together. So if you want to rock that and make Frondell your 2C, I don't think there's a guy in the world who's going to complain with Bedard, Frondell, and, let's say Sasha Boisvert down the middle. It's a luxury that Kyle Davidson's done, which is drafting a lot of centers, because it's a tough position. You don't know who's going to pan out at it and who doesn't, but they're going to have a lot of options, especially in the faceoff dot. Like you got to think, like, if you have to take a defensive zone draw, you can put Frondell and Bedard on the same line. And if it's, you got a left-hand guy in the dot and you got a right-hand guy in the dot, you might have the luxury to put Bedard on the wing, which might benefit him in the long run. I think he's still going to play center. Yeah, he's not going to be Patrice Bergeron defensively, but how many times have we seen an offensive centerman? Oh, I don't know.
Not Patrice Bergeron.
Yeah, Sidney Crosby wasn't winning Selkies as a 19-year-old, but also, Sidney Crosby had is a demon. So I'm going to talk about that. I think this show has very much made our opinion clear on Sidney Crosby, and he's probably
we fucking hate him. No,
he's the worst.
God.
But I just really like this player's game. I think it projects well for the NHL level. I think bare minimum, this guy's on the roster at the end of this next year. Whether that's picking him up like after the deadline, once his season ends at the SHL, or he makes it out of camp, which sounds like they really he said it in his first interview with the Hawks. He said, if I'm not good enough to make it out of camp, I'm going back to Sweden. And I kind of have to, that's pretty admirable of him, because a lot of people would just be like, I'm making the team. I'm going to, I'll do whatever they want me to do. It's like, no, I want to finish what I started where I'm playing right now. And I can name a bunch of dudes off the top of my head who went back and played in their country and, came back and played pretty good. I immediately think of Lucas Raymond, who spent another year in the SHL prior to coming over to North America. So I think this is a great player. he may not be the highest scorer in the draft, but I'm going to be honest, if this guy is a 60 point, 30-30 guy for you who can play center or wing, power play demon, unlocks more of Bedard's game, I don't think you can look at this as a bad pick when it's all said and done.
I mean, Jonathan Taves only hit 80 points, what, twice? Like,
Twice.
but the thing with him is he always showed up in the playoffs, and you could pretty much pencil him in to be like a 30-40 guy. And again, if you get that from Anton Frendel, and I think most importantly, like if you pair him with Connor Bedard and unlock his potential, I think that's the most important part. And I've been saying this, and like you always are going to look like recency bias. You're going to look at the winning teams, and I've been thinking like, oh, the floor for Anton Frendel is Anton Lundell, and could if it like at his peak, his ceiling, like you're hoping that's a Sasha Barkov, and like I'm just thinking like, what if Connor Bedard does move to the wing? Maybe that's better for him, and then you got your Barkov and Reinhardt. I would fucking love that for Frondell and Bedard if that were the case. And again, just the personality, like not the cockiness, but like he's a very confident guy. And him being like, "Oh, which position are you going to play?" And he said, "Oh, the position that Connor Bedard's not going to play." Like this guy, I think like they could put Bedard and Nazar together, but I think that draft pick was made in mind with those two just being attached to with each other for a decade plus.
Yeah, and it's not like Jonathan Taves played with Patrick Kane his whole career. He had pretty good
Yeah,
run when Patrick Sharpen's flanking his wing too, and Marian Hossa is flanking his wing. Like it's good to have options, and they're gonna have options. And you look at Frondel's game; it complements Bedard so well. What's the one thing Bedard isn't the strongest at? It's his board play. I think it's his board play in the offensive zone. He's not able to get pucks off the wall the way he'd like to, and that's Fondel's. That's his bread and butter. His bread and butter is getting that puck off the wall and slinging that shit to the slot or slinging that shit to the point. And I think it's just going to open. Like I said it before, and I'll say it again. If I'm Jeff Blashill, I'm showing Connor Bedard all of his tape from his rookie year before he broke his jaw. And I'm like, this is how you're going to get better in this league, which is one, going to the net, and two, going to the middle of the ice, which he's great at doing when he wants to do. And I think Frondel's going to help clear space for that to happen. Like, it would not shock me if the line is Frondel, Bedard, and Bertuzzi, and it's just like, hey, we're going to go clear fucking space for this guy and just let him do his thing. And we'll just bang
yeah.
in pucks when he's ready to just pass it. Because that's kind of what he was doing already with Bertuzzi, and you just get another guy who can just be a horse in the offensive zone on the wall and add another elite shot to this prospect pool. Because when it's all said and done, I think you have three guys with 30 goal potential on the roster. Um, Lardis is still to be seen. I haven't seen him at the NHL level.
Wild
Same with
card.
Fundell. But out of those four, three of them I think have the potential to score 30. I think Nazar has the potential to score 32. He's not going to be like perennial 30 goal guy. I think Frondell could be a perennial 30 goal guy, but that's still to be seen. But he's got a lot of translatable traits, which is very exciting. And he's not the worst skater in the world, which is always something people worry about. He's pretty quick when he needs to be, and they develop him properly. I think you got a hell of an NHL player there for the future of this core.
It almost feels like the Artem Shunov pick because it's like it felt like Lev Shunov. He still does like have. It seems like he's gonna have a very high floor. Like I think at worst he's a second pairing guy that can still eat a lot of minutes. But it's like, oh, this guy is already so good, but he's still so raw, and there's such a high ceiling with him. I see that with Anton Frendel as well. Like I think he's gonna be a second line player, but again, whether he's going to become like a superstar player, that remains to be seen. But I'm very optimistic he will hit that. Again, that's what you're hoping for when you're drafting third overall.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, you don't draft a third overall player to be a freaking fourth line center. That's for sure. Um, you got to swing for the fences sometimes, and I think with the traits that this guy has and what he brings to this prospect pool, you can. It is just. I'm going to be honest, as Kyle Davidson like to say in his interview, I took a grand slam with my last pick. Apparently, I like to swing
I
for
was
the
swinging for the
fences.
fences. Yeah,
Just stop giving everyone bait, including myself, because that's just such a that's such a monstrous quote. But this has been the best day of the year for Hawks fans for the last 4 years. continues
Really,
to be
only
that.
all we've had.
That's all I got. That's all I got. The worst. But yeah.
Pretty happy with the pick. um, might as well go on to the rest of the Hawks draft class, and then we'll kind of like recap the rest of the top 10 and maybe some surprises. Vaclav, I still don't know how to say his name. I don't know if I'm saying
Or
it properly.
Nestor.
Vaclav
It's
Nestrasel at number 25, who grew up a Hawks fan, and his dad posted on social media that this was meant to be. That was the thing. Like, I did have the draft on in the background, but I just honestly wasn't paying attention to it that much. Like, I was more so focused on the stream. But he wasn't there for the draft. He was in Czechia, and he said like, "Oh, it was like early in the AM." And when he found out he got drafted by the Hawks, like they were screaming so loud that the whole block could hear him, and like almost the whole city. And again, like it just reminds you of this is why we do it for moments like that. Just a truly awesome moment. And what do you think about the pick? Like, some people might say it's a bit of a reach, but again, like at this point, like when you're in the 20s and supposedly being a weaker draft, like this team needs size and skill, and you get that with Nestrassel. Yeah, you can take that swing at 25.
I'd much rather Davidson take swings than take a lot of safe players at this point, which he has done in recent years. I look at a guy like Merrick
Mm-hmm.
Van Acker. That's about as safe of a pick as you can make for, yeah, that's probably an NHL player. I'd argue the same can be made with Oliver Moore as well. But
Mm-hmm.
when you get to this point, you have to start taking swings on potential. Like we talk about it all the time. Like you look at drafts in the past where around this range, guys like I'll just name a couple off the top of my head. Yeah, they weren't first round picks, but like guys like Jason Robertson, guys like Alex DeBrincat, they're out there at this position. You just have to have the right crew to develop them, and I think this is you banking on your development crew and your coaching staff and the crew you have built for this organization because going back to last year, like Artem Levchinov is an extremely raw hockey player. Vaclav Nestrasil is an extremely raw hockey player. Mason West is a goddamn dual sport athlete. He's still extremely raw at
A
the sport.
fucking quarterback.
He's a good one too. Jesus, but it's you're banking on the skill, you're banking on the tool set, you're banking on the fact that he just unlocked a whole nother level of his game in the second half of the year in Muskegon. And this is a guy who I believe is going to UMass next year, so he's going to be playing college hockey, which is probably where I
Correct.
want him to
Yeah.
be.
Mm-hmm.
Playing with all that size, going up against Gavin McKenna, just and it sounds like maybe Michael Misa and Caden Lynch. There's going to be a lot of the next generation of NHL players to go up against. It's good competition, and they're all different ages. Like you even got guys like Ryan Chesley, I believe, who's like 21 stuff. Like you have legit grown prospects that he's gonna be able to go up against, and UMass is going to be a team where we're going to really learn how skilled he is because he's going to be one of the best forwards on the team. So, if he's point a game or over in college and, he starts putting on more muscle because he's 6'6", for God's sake. Like
Yeah, he's a
it's,
6'6", 190.
yeah, like he's got to put at least 25 more pounds on, but hopefully more, honestly. But this is a guy with
You're
top
hoping
six
he's like
upside.
230, 235, even 240.
Like, think about the luxury you're going to have potentially to just go on the power play and be like, all right, we're putting Mason West and, freaking Nestrasil on both power plays
there's your
right in front
net
of your
front.
goalie's face. Yeah.
Yeah, there's your net front
Like, if
settled
Mason
for
West
the
is as
next
talented as
decade.
he is, he should be number one power play. Just Dustin Bufflin 2010 is immediately what I think of. Just annoying the fuck out of Roberto Luongo, who's one of the best goalies of all time. Like,
Have you ever
that's.
seen that?
Hmm?
I was gonna say, have you ever seen that video of like Luongo? He was doing poetry, and I forget how it goes, but he was just basically just like Dustin Bufflin, get your fat ass out of my crease. I would see if I can find the clip and send it to you.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome. But, that's what you want at the end of the day. Like if this guy is just if he's an NHL player, maybe middle six, demon, just can create space, be a nuisance, get people on the power play and whatnot. It I think it could work. Yeah, it's not a guy who's going to be in the NHL next year, but
No, probably not
this
for
is a
next
guy
another
that like
couple of
3
years.
years down the line, when this team's probably starting to turn the right direction. Going to be a hell of an addition to a forward core that's going to need it, which is some size. When the biggest guys that'll probably be on the team in a couple of years is like Boyver and Frondell in terms of the forward core. So it's going to be some beef that they need, and very high offensive upside with him as well.
He compared himself. I don't know if he compared himself directly to Matthew Nice, but he said like a Matthew Nice-esque player. And Matthew Nice just signed a 6-year contract worth almost 8 million per. So I don't know if he makes it to the NHL that quickly because again he's just so raw. Like I would like he's at least spending 2 years in university at UMass, and if he somehow like takes like just a giant leap, then again that's cherry on top. That's gravy in the mashed potatoes. Looking at his stats for last year, 42 points in 61 games for the Muskegon Lumberjacks of the USHL. 42 points, 61 games doesn't look great, but he had a very good second half, and in 14 playoffs games, he had 13 points, 7 of them were goals.
Pretty good.
Is that good? You tell me. But yeah, like you said, with like Davidson has gone pretty safe, like later on. 23rd, like Oliver Moore again. That's an NHL. You could still be a second line guy, but I don't think that's a guaranteed top 6 guy. And same with Merrick Van. I just even look at like this year they could have gone say a Malcolm Spence or I don't know Bill Zonin or like a Colin Potter. I would have been fine with those picks, but yeah, just at this point, like they need size and they need to take more swings. And again, like you can't trade your picks for NHL ready players. Might as well, use all those picks to move up, move around, and take these big swings. That's what like I've said so many times, that's what the draft picks are for. On to the next pick. This is the most intriguing one easily. Mason West, multi-sport athlete. Like I think he's going to Michigan to play football like this summer and fall. And there could be a reality where like he does stick with football. Like worst case scenario out of this, since they drafted him in the first round, like if he doesn't sign with the Hawks, they would get a compensatory second round pick. So that's worst case scenario. This best case scenario, like maybe Tage Thompson. I don't know, but that's like again, that's the type of swing you want to take in late in the first round. And it sounded like other teams were trying to get him as well. Like LA, it sounded like more like I don't know if it was ever confirmed, but I think on the Call Up podcast with Cam Robinson and Chris Peters, which you should absolutely listen to, they said that the Kings were like trying to get him, I think, at 31, but the Hawks traded up and got him. That was supposed to be their big splash, but that didn't work out. But
their big splash was Cody Ceci. They'll be fine.
No, they didn't sign him. But this is very reminiscent of like another big swing in the late 20s. Sam Renzel, another guy that was in Minnesota high school, very raw, and you're thinking, oh, he might take 3 or 4 years in college, and look at it like 3 years, he's already like, it's crazy how like some people might view him as like the best prospect in the pool right now, Sam Renzel, and you're hoping the same with Mason West, 6'6", 218, like still doesn't turn 18 for another month, like it's just still so raw. And again, it couldn't work. It might not work out. He might not even play hockey, but again, like I said, that's the kind of swing you want to make. For Adina, or is it Adina High School? He had 49 points in 31 games, 27 goals, 22 assists, and then he had a brief cup of coffee in the USHL with the Fargo Force, 9 points, 10 games, 1 goal, and then he had 0 points in 2 playoff games. Bum! I can't believe they made that trade. He's a bust. But now, what are your thoughts on the pick? Very intriguing.
I think it's exactly what you said earlier. Sam Renzel was a guy that we looked at and it was like, okay, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a bit. No one's expecting this guy to be in the big leagues 2026. You know what I mean? Like, this is another guy where it's like, yeah, let's look at this time in 2028 and see what we're saying. Just like we were with Renzel in 2022. I can tell you now, he's had quite the development curve. And sometimes the talent just speaks for itself. Sometimes the athletic build speaks for itself. Sometimes you just have to trust the skill that's there. And I'm going to be honest, like, he got drafted in the first round. Unless he's getting recruited by like Ohio State or a big college football team, he's probably going to hockey, guys. Like AJ Spellacy had a ride to Illinois last year and a couple other D1 schools, and he said, "No, I'm good." There's money to be made earlier in hockey, I would argue, especially in his case, because he is a unicorn. If the skill matches the size,
Oh,
and
he
even if
pans
it
out. He'll get
doesn't,
paid. Yeah.
oh my God, if it matches your 10 million, like, yeah, if it matches in the NFL, you're probably going to make generational wealth. It'll be hundreds of millions of dollars. Not nearly as much as you make in hockey, but you have to be really fucking good to get that. And
Not guaranteed money usually,
not
unless you're Kirk
guaranteed.
Cousins.
That's the one thing, too, I always say. NFL's great, but they can cut you on a dime, so you better get that guaranteed money. Every contract in hockey is fully guaranteed. Mike Richards is still getting paid for another 5 years. Love reminding people that. Like,
Bobby Bonilla is still getting paid.
the real thing. And I think there's there could be a reality where that happens, but I just think this is a player who we're going to look back in 3 years and be like, holy shit, this guy is going to just reinvent the top nine at that point. Think about it. Like, in 3 years' time is when I'd like to see Nestrasil and West kind of start cracking the lineup. And by then, you're going to know what you have with this first wave of young guys. You're going to know what you need. You're going to know what's going to benefit this core. And just by the way they're building the roster, holy shit, adding 2 6'6" wingers to this team or potentially centers completely changes the dynamic of the core. Like, you're telling me if, like, Mason West projects as, let's say, Alex Tuck, and that type of player,
yeah.
you're gluing that to Connor Bedard or Frank Nazar. Like, oh my God, like, that's disgusting. And that could be potentially in your prospect pool because you took a flyer in the late first when the same time last year you took Merrick Van Acker, which I still scratch my head about, if I'm being honest. Like, that's not worth trading back into the first round, but I digress. Maybe Merrick Van Acker turns into Brandon Saad, like his equivalent is got drafted. Yeah. But I like when they swing more like this. It's something Kyle Davidson, I think, is afraid to do at the higher positions in the draft. From what we've seen, Korchinski, I think, was a reach. So he does like the swing on defensemen in particular. But this is his first big forward swing, in my opinion. Like, some would argue Nazar, but I think Nazar's pedigree spoke for itself. Guy was a top 10 prospect.
If they picked him at 7, yeah, I would argue that. But at 13 at that point, no, not in that draft class.
But, let's look. Like, Moore's a pretty safe pick. Boisvert's a pretty safe pick. Renzel was his big risk, but that's a defensive player. So I'm not counting second rounder later because that's just, if we're really going to count that, he should have taken fucking Lane Hudson in 2022. But if ifs and buts. I mean,
31 other teams could have as well, and they didn't. So
every team could have,
Montreal passed on him like 3 times, I think.
Yeah, a lot of teams did. Arizona did like 6 times. Mm-hmm. No one thought, because that was the year they had 3 firsts and 5 seconds. But I think it's just we're gonna have such a luxury in this prospect pool in 3 years' time because we're gonna see the first wave come through. We're gonna know what we have, and that's right around the time when a lot of these guys will be 21, 22, 23. Like, that's when you trade them if you don't want them. They're gonna have such a luxury when this team's going to start competing because not every player can make the roster. We talk about this all the time. Like, they've drafted like 25 forwards in the first 3 rounds. It feels like these guys all can't make the team. It builds competition. It makes people want to strive to be better. And at the end of the day, you don't have to rush these guys, which I think is the big thing. Like, yeah, they're rushing the first wave, but like it's because the team fucking sucks. 3 years' time, if we're still in this position, Kyle Davidson's well on fired for that. Sorry, if they're at the bottom of the league in 2028, Kyle Davidson's been fired for over a year at that point. I'd have to think, but what do I know?
I would argue like if they're like if it's the same result as last, like they need to win at least a few more games. Like, you got to be flirting with 30 this year. I want them to win 30. Like, we're asking for so little.
Team is so ass. Oh my God, we're begging for 30 wins, and you would think we're begging for the cup. Like, it's so crazy. Oh my God. Like, this is probably one of the more reasonable, shitty fan bases in the world because, like, yeah, people want to win cups with Bedard. Like, in my opinion, it took Nathan McKinnon 9 years to win a fucking cup, and he was a first
took Ovechkin almost 15 years to win a fucking
cup.
Not
everyone is Taves and Kane. Not everyone is Sidney Crosby. Like, this is just it doesn't work like that all the time. Especially with the way this team was built and what Bedard got here, but that's not the point. You can argue the same shit for McKinnon.
Yeah,
Right.
Florida, like Barkov was drafted in 2013. 11 years it took for him to win a cup. Like it takes
Yeah, it's like
sometimes it
his
takes
best
time.
fucking partner in crime getting traded for Kachuk for it to happen.
Hmm.
Like it takes time. It takes time for all this shit to come together. And there was a time where people looked at Florida and they were like, "Holy shit! Look at all this shit they got coming in. Look at all these top picks." And then they had to trade almost all of them outside of Barkov and
And they're not
Ekblad.
regretting
So
it at all right now.
no, not at all. Like, yeah, you hope it. There's inside you. There are two demons. There's the Florida Panthers way to this cup, and there's the Tampa Bay Lightning way to the cup. One is building your entire team through your system, which is what I think the Hawks are trying to do, and one
Yeah,
is saying we couldn't do that, so we're going to just adjust and make a team
and that's what Vegas did too.
make a team through trade. You're going to have
Hmm.
options. That's all I'm trying to make. The long, at exasperated point is they are going to have a
Long
lot of
way.
options.
Hmm.
Long winded.
To be honest, I don't even remember the rest of the draft class off the top of my head. I probably should have pulled that up, but
We have
I think it's
Denoye
me.
at 5, or Denoye at Florida,
Or no, I meant
Utah.
like the Blackhawks draft
Oh,
class because
Nathan
they.
Them in the third round, I like. I didn't think he was
Mhm.
going to fall to the third round. It's a guy who, is probably going to stay in the in junior the next couple
And
years.
Kamloops, welcome back, Logan Stankoven. Bang.
He's
Movie.
bigger. But the guy who's going to score a shit ton of goals in junior and probably go to the AHL, score a shit ton of goals, and maybe gets cracked in the NHL. His size is
Maybe
definitely
another
going to
North
help it.
Artist.
Him and Gavin Hayes are going to stare at each other, and it's like, I'm you, but better. But
You're the cheap
it's
fucking knockoff.
it's a guy who I probably thought would have went in the second round that fell to the third round. So I don't mind that pick. The rest of the picks are just whatever. They're picking goons at that point. I'm so
Yeah, I was
serious.
just gonna say they're going for size and like
They're picking goons and
yes,
enforcers, and
yeah.
that literally was the game plan. Like, and it's okay. Like,
Mhm.
you have a shit ton of skill in this pool. You need people like that. But
Maybe
it's the
one of them
fourth
comes
round.
Radko Gudas or something.
I'm not gonna fucking complain about their fourth through
Nah, me
seventh
neither.
round picks. Especially because I don't know shit about him. I know the one guy played with Denoye, Sumph. He's like 20. I think he's gonna go play with like
Yeah,
Providence or something.
he didn't
But
think he was gonna get drafted, and he did, so that's cool.
in the fourth round, Kyle Davidson loves his
We
guys.
we have Caleb Denoya at home.
Jesus fucking Christ! Oh my gosh! But besides, the first four picks are the ones that matter, and it's a lot of size added to this pool. It's a lot of skill added to this pool. It's a lot of goal scoring added to this pool. Outside of West, I think West is more of a playmaker, but um, got a lot of different when we were talking about this prospect pool a couple months ago. There's a lot of different players. There's a lot of different skill sets,
Very
and I think you just
diverse.
added a lot more as well.